Alrighty, guys. So I'm going to read a quick passage out of this book, The Serpent Grail by Philip Gardner and Gary Osborne. Those familiar, this is on page 83, about halfway down. Those familiar with esoteric wisdom in both Western and Eastern mysticism and metaphysics will understand what is being alluded to regarding the three healers. The three healers make up the triad of positive, negative, and neutral energies, while the three serpents are surely an illusion, not illusion. A-L-L-U-S-I-O-N. But we'll repeat that. The three healers make up the triad of positive, negative, and neutral energies, while the three serpents are surely an allusion to the Hindu Kundalini serpents, the Pingala, Ida, and Sushumna triad, which are respectively associated with the pineal and pituitary glands and the thalamus. Well, bear with me while I look through this a little bit. Here we go. I mean, the secret of immortality also lies within the snake itself. Yes, the serpentine kingdom is highly ingenious. Most people who think of snakes, I think they just think that they're a typical reptile and that they're known for just like sleeping in holes all day, you name it. No, snakes are actually in a constant cycle and state of meditation. They can actually perform Shaktipat on your chakras. Shaktipat, essentially, for those who don't know, is the activation of Kundalini through an external source. So particular swamis and enlightened sages and Kundalini masters in the East, you name it, can actually breathe the fire of Kundalini into you by either opening up your mouth and breathing down your throat. That is one of the ways that, how would I say it? An author that I respect heavily, when he went to India to have his Shaktipat, would have his Kundalini awakened by one of the masters in India, one of the swamis. The swami actually opened up his mouth and blew down into his throat, and it actually turned the Kundalini on. That may sound a little crazy, but even things like an enlightened individual can touch a person on their forehead and shoot the energy into their forehead and actually stimulate and activate the Kundalini. But in my own personal experience, I was not initiated by a human. I was initiated by a snake, a little ball python named Apollo. Years later, I was initiated by a boa constrictor named Autumn, who I currently is a companion of mine. She lives at the house with me. My 7.5-foot boa constrictor. She's a sweetheart. And the snake, the Apollo, the ball python, during my first Kundalini awakening, when I looked over at the cage, let's just mark this spot really quick. And I know this is going to sound crazy to a lot of people, but it is what it is. The snake was doing spirals, doing all sorts of crazy movements, and was hissing, was bending light at the tip of its tongue and projecting these three-dimensional etheric, almost like an engrams, these spiral lights into my chakra centers, and the snake was actually removing the negative sorcery that had been put on my chakras to keep the Kundalini energy from moving up my spine. So that probably is going to sound crazy to some people. My hood is actually, the rain is hitting my hood and it's causing steam to rise. It's kind of interesting. I'm not too sure how good that is, to be honest. The car next to me that just parked, there's no steam rising off his hood. But anyways. But yes, the Hindu Kundalini serpents, the Pingala, Ida, and Sushumna triad, is associated with the pineal, the pituitary, and the thalamus. And the pineal and the pituitary are actually the king and queen's chamber, excuse me. The king's chamber being the pineal, and the queen's chamber being the pituitary. Both of them work hand in hand. And that's why to take care of the pituitary, I always recommend utilizing iodine, foods rich in iodine, such as AFA blue-green algae, or even something as simple as nascent iodine or Lugol's iodine, because the thyroid, which iodine feeds, is the master gland. It's a master regulatory gland. It feeds, or it's responsible for. What's wrong with this light? It keeps blinking. The thyroid maintains metabolism. It's responsible for keeping so many different functions within the body taking place, and iodine feeds the thyroid, and the thyroid works hand in hand with the pituitary. The health of the thyroid largely dictates the health of the pituitary gland, and due to that, the health of the pituitary and the thyroid directly affect the health of the pineal gland, also known as the king's chamber. So we'll do a little bit more reading. This is kind of a scattered rant. I have a lot of stuff I need to do today, so I'm going to make little clips and join them together later tonight. The uraeus, the Egyptian cobra, is the snake seen on the foreheads of pharaohs and was said to be the snake Cleopatra chose to use when committing suicide. Let's see here. The Egyptians believed that the Book of Thoth, now regarded as an important alchemical text, was guarded by snakes. Thoth himself is said to have incarnated as a serpent. In Sancho Tenathion, a history and writer thought to have lived around the 13th century or 14th century BC, describes him as the founder of serpent worship in Egypt because of his ability to become a serpent of wisdom. That is an alchemical axiom, an alchemical puzzle kind of hidden symbolism of becoming the feathered serpent, Quetzalcoatl. When we become enlightened, we do indeed become the reptilian serpent. We become it's going to sound crazy, and I think a lot of people are going to become afraid of Kundalini because of its reptilian qualities. So, in my opinion, that is why there is a huge disinformation ploy going on here in this matrix to get people to hate reptilian energy. They want you to think that reptilian extraterrestrials and reptiles in general are evil when they're not. It's the exact opposite. Things have been flipped around to confuse you. So we will keep reading here. I should have marked these pages that I wanted to read from. Let's take the book sleeve off. But what a profound book, ladies and gentlemen. Damn, I had a bunch of stuff I wanted to read in here, but I didn't. I thought I marked it. Anyways, apparently I didn't mark it, and that's a huge bummer. Damn. What is this? We've become increasingly convinced that these ancient serpent cults had spread throughout the known world, naming places as they went and building megaliths and monoliths. At the same time, they carried with them sacred stories of serpent-bred kings and queens that were to foster new and profoundly complex messianic tales. This suggests that our modern world evolved from a single source. There is thus more to the serpent that meets the eyes. Its coils lie at the very foundation of the Western world. That's why you see so much serpentine symbolism all across the world, especially with even in all over Egypt, all over Greece. It's everywhere. The snake is the key to enlightenment, ladies and gentlemen. They want you to believe it's an evildoer. They want to confuse you. Anyways, I'm going to go into the library, bookmark some pages, and then we'll continue reading, you guys. Peace.